Good morning, afternoon or evening. Today I'm going to go through the current ratios and the order book for these pairs down there. I'll try not to make this too long a video. They do tend to go on too long, so I'll try and keep it nice and short. So I'm just going to go through the current ratios for the pound dollar, 74% long, and every single one of these signal providers, AUDUSD, IG, MyFXbook, Ducoscopic, Saxo Bank, Forex Factory, sell. At the beginning of the day it was 76% and it's now 74%, so there's been a 2% shift in a day, but at a high level it's still sell and we're below monthly pivot. So what I think, the reason that this has come up is because there's now a 27% chance of a 50 basis point cut by the end of the month from the Fed, so it's going to go up anyway because the dollar weakened. So it could just do its own thing to ignore the sentiment, which would make it payday for the crowd, and that does happen. They can be right, because if they were always wrong they'd lose interest and then do something else. So it could just be payday for the crowd up to this stop loss cluster 125.85. we are closed at 125.80, and bearing in mind we're still below this pivot, we could even come up and test it. That's at 126.59, but really looking at that, it's a sell. The oscillators aren't crossing down, they're actually crossing up, possibly teetering a little bit. And you see what happens. See, they went long, well they have been long historically, but they just increased their longs. If you follow that, so I move my mouse, up, more longs, add in longs, and then they decreased their longs. So this is probably about the time when the Fed speakers started talking. They've been going on all week, and they decrease. But pending we're above this line at 50%, it's still a sell. But we could just be moving up because of the Fed Fund futures. It's now 27% chance of a 50 basis point cut. So it could just go up regardless of the sentiment. So something to keep an eye on. But really it shouldn't be going up. I think it's going to probe that and it will come down. So yeah, it's been quite a frustrating one because it should have sold, but it's just following the Dixie weakness, and also the euro pound hit a psychological resistance at 0.9. So there's that as well. The dollar yen, it's a sell, 74%. So we've got the crossover here on the oscillators, and the MyFXbook line, they've gone long, so by going long it makes it a sell. So it's quite clever really, because that line, you just go up, down, up, and then they'll come down. So assuming that MyFXbook line stays up here, then this will continue, and there's a stop loss cluster here, 107.40. I can't see the one above. Oh, there it is. 109. See, these are done. See, that's 2.38%. So that stop loss cluster is larger than that one. It's 2.01. But because of that ratio line's pointing up, we're going to point down, and we might trigger this. And if we do trigger it, then we'll be below monthly pivot. So that's going to be a big deal. That could just hold. But that's something we'll just have to wait and see. But there's your levels there. Could probe that. 74%, it's quite high. So it needs to get reset in order to come up. It's too high. Euro dollar, it's a bearish ABCD. Oscillators are definitely up. Maybe teetering, leveling out a little bit. MyFXbook line is a hard one to call. We're at 50% on the aggregate, so it's something you wouldn't trade on the sentiment. and retail undecided as well. They're in this band. This is the untradable band. You wouldn't necessarily do that because we want to trade the opposite of the crowd, and if the crowd are undecided, then we shouldn't take that signal. This is something we shouldn't trade. And the stop loss clusters are close, which is interesting. That one says 112.30. Okay. This one's a lot larger, it's 2.89%. That's quite a chunky stop loss cluster at 112.86. So we're close to triggering that. We could possibly come to that, absorb that, and then down. And this is the monthly pivot 2 with a bearish ABCD. So if we break that level, 14.42, okay. So if we break above that, then we've invalidated the sequence. But at the moment it's untradeable because of the ratios. But possibly up to that one, then down. That's a big chunky stop loss cluster. The banks would like that quite a lot. That'd be good for them. So that's your bias below the pivot. Gold. Now we've got a bearish dragon here, so this has actually created quite a nice diagonal. So we're above the monthly pivot, which corresponds to B, X, A, B, C, D. At that point should have been a sell, but we're going back to the Fed again, and obviously they're becoming quite dovish on the forecasts. 47% is actually a buy, but then again the ratios are pretty much undecided. This grey band is something you wouldn't want to trade within. Oscillators are crossing down, which matches that case because below that diagonal should be quite bearish with that technical pattern, but we are above monthly pivot. And that monthly pivot is 1384, so that should hold, but we'll see. I mean, it's still a buy there, but untradeable. We'd want to wait for it to come down here before a buy. I don't know if I can do that. Okay. The Euro Yen, some big stop loss cluster. That's the largest stop loss cluster I've seen at 122.35. That is humongous. There's a lot of money up there. 122.35 and 121.30. It's actually a sell on the ratios. 70%. Oscillators didn't cross. They're just coming down. My FX book line is definitely sticking up, which makes it a sell. So it leads me to think that it's going to come down here at 121.30. The pattern is bearish ABCD. You won't see it. I need to zoom out. But that's the predominant new bias, and we're below the pivot 2 at 122.19. Looks like we took that stop loss cluster there at 1217. So down here, and it supports the idea of selling because we're below the monthly pivot. Dollar Swiss, we've got that huge bearish 5.0 which I identified on Telegram. And now this is the pattern I think that the dollar index is going to do. So what happens here is actually making X, A, B, C, D. So we're going to get like a bat formation. So it comes down here, but that will be your C, and then it comes up for D. But at the moment that's a very bearish triangle. And you see resistance 1, let's see it again. This is what I've identified anyway, you would have seen on Telegram. But that R1 is this D resistance. So anything below there, it's a sell. It's a double resistance. Oscillators crossing, my FX book line is pointing up, which makes it a sell. This is the pivot. Yeah, on the monthly is 9821. Okay. So yeah, it looks like a sell. Looking from that line, anything within this is quite bearish, but we are above monthly pivot. The stop loss cluster there, 9950 and 9827. So that's something to bear in mind. The Kiwi USD bearish 5.0. Again, that's interesting. I wonder if we can draw a line there. We might have broken. We might be nearing broken. Okay, so we're seeing some resistance there. Let's zoom in. Let me zoom in again. Yeah, look, we hit that line almost to the pip. I think that is actually to the pip. That's quite amazing. This is why the zoop's so good. Look at that. So we know that's a resistance line there. Ratios are undecided. In fact, the MyFX book line is pointing down, so it makes it a buy. So we could maybe break above that diagonal, and we're above monthly pivot at 6639. But the pattern is bearish. Oscillators are up. They're not crossing, but they might be close. But I wouldn't trade it because of that. You want it to be, you want like a clear bias. 50%, you just wouldn't trade it on the sentiment. Where you might break that diagonal. Stop loss cluster 6641, 6735. Okay, so about 30 pips. Maybe trigger that and then down. Okay, Australian dollar, bullish dragon. Oscillators are up. That MyFX book line is interesting. That pointed towards being a buy on the MyFX book, but the aggregate is a sell. So the MyFX book, they're actually quite different to the others. Awanda's bearish, IG's bearish. These are undecided. So this is why we need to check the aggregate, and I don't mind if you ask for order book analysis, so we can actually see the aggregate. We can rely on the MyFX book line, but it is good to see the average. So we're above that line there. You see what happened. This is what I thought might happen as a bounce on that diagonal. You can see my tweets. This is exactly what I forecast. Exactly. So we had a bounce there. Stop loss cluster 7022, 6977. 54% is a sell on the static. And again, wait for that MyFX book line. And if it comes down, we might see that others follow. You see how erratic it is. The others are quite placid. This one moves a lot, but they might follow. If it comes down here, it can be a buy. So let's both keep an eye on the shifting sell for the Australian dollar against the US dollar and dollar CAD. So this is actually bearish. My FX book line 94% long. That's crazy. 74% is the aggregate. It's a bearish butterfly. Non-flip pivots here, so it's bearish below. Oscillators crossed down, and the retail. So they got caught. They went long there, which is bizarre, really, because you could see it was coming down. They just looked at their moving average. And anyway, they held on, because who wants to have losses, right? They just held on, hoping it was going to come up. But they held on and on. And they're going to continue to hold on. I guess, and then they'll just add to their longs, which makes it worse. The stop loss cluster there is large at 130. They love their round numbers. So maybe 25 pips to go to that. But we're below monthly pivot. and the one above is 13066. But this is why we need to have practice safe risk management, because the crowd, they don't like to have small losses, they'll just rather hold, and see it can be quite destructive, because the banks will see this, they know what we're doing. There's no reason for them to buy when everyone's holding on long. They'd sell it so they can wipe these people out and take their money, retail flush. And so we see the support there at 12923, so that could be a possibility, and then a bounce. But assuming that ratio stays so long, it's going to be a sell. Monthly support 1, monthly support 2. But it's interesting, they've got their stops dead on 130. So if you were long this pair, move your stops away from that cluster, because that's going to be targeted. That wraps up a pretty long video, it's 16 minutes. I think I covered everything. Next week I'll go on, talk about the technical side of things, and then the following week I'll do the sentimental side of things, so we can try and marry the two together. But hopefully this was useful. But yeah, let me know anytime over the week if you want an order book. I don't mind, because it helps me as well, because then it reminds me to check. But that pound dollar was quite an infuriating one, but as I was talking earlier, it's because of the dollar index, and I think it might become a buy, the dollar, Monday, Tuesday, but we'll see. I mean, this shouldn't be going up. But yeah, have a good weekend, and yeah, I'll speak to you all soon. Right, thanks very much.